Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
That was me mimicking the water drop sound.
Oh, okay. I was like, he's so focused on something.
Yeah, no, I was trying to perfectly replicate the sound of the intro for Archetype. Welcome to Archetype. I am temporary host Chris Holly, along with amazing character and fantastic modeler Ashley Stegon.
It's me. Yeah, and we're here on a Wednesday again.
We are here on Wednesday again.
We lied last, and it'll be, from what I know, Wednesday for the foreseeable future. If I'm not mistaken. That's what we'll be figuring out. So, yes, sorry for all the crazy time changes. Always trying to figure out schedules. But, yeah, let's get to it. We're blocking out our Corgi and our Paladin. And I wanted to go ahead and bring down the reference because I also decided to color it.
Wow! Okay, hang on, wait. Let's do a last time on Archetype. Okay, go ahead. Break it down for us.
There you go. Yeah, so I went ahead and colored it because I again, for color, I usually like to. It's easier to block something out in 2D than it is in 3D. I feel like I make a lot of color changes in 3D, and I just like seeing color harmony with everything first. So I went ahead and colored the design, and I still have all the same reference that we had. We'll make the saddle look a little cooler in reality. I think we'll add some cool ropes and stuff. Not get too crazy because it's still stylized, but yeah, so that's kind of where we're at now. But I wanted to go ahead and share and show that we have a colored concept now. So he's got some fun colors on him. So I'm gonna go ahead and before oh my gosh, this gets ginormous on my other screen. Before I go much farther into the block out, I always like to kind of color it while working. So that's why I wanted to color it in 2D, so that way I kind of jump in here and start painting this stuff up a little bit, because it just helps, at least for me, it helps bring in some character. It makes it feel like I'm not looking at something just kind of gray, and brings it a little bit more to life. So I'm going to try to find like a nice orange here for a Corgi and start painting
nice
some
Corgi
stuff.
tan.
Yeah, Corgi tannish orange color.
Yeah, these are all technical terms, by the way. So if you're just tuning in and you're confused by the phrase Corgi tan, well, you can't really help. We're very.
It's a Copic market color now.
Yeah.
Official.
That would be amazing if there was a
right.
little Copic and it had like a little splooting Corgi on the marker. That would be pretty great.
Oh man, I don't know why they don't do that. People would be buying that thing like crazy.
Come on, Copic. We're here to help.
We're full of all the good ideas. So yeah, if you're there in the chat, say hi.
Yeah, well, so we got Wookiee and we have okay, we did this Okai
Sado.
Yeah, Okai Sado. So we broke it down. Thank you for coming with us on this time change journey that we've been on these past couple weeks. So you probably are already familiar with where you are and what's going on. But for those of you that aren't, this is Archetype, our weekly Gnomon live stream with Ashley Stegon right over here. And every week, Ashley comes in. Generally, it's a 4-week process. Comes in the first week and figures out exactly what the heck we're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks. And 2 weeks ago, I guess at this point, we discussed with the chat, what the heck are we going to do? And together, as a unit, came up with the fantastic idea of the Paladin. So if you're familiar with D&D or any of these other kind of class-based system games, a Paladin is kind of what we're going with here. But it's a dwarvish Paladin with a Corgi mount, which is just the coolest thing.
It's too fun.
It's very fun. And through that simple concept, there was a lot of elaboration, not only the style of the clothes, but the weapon that it was going to wear, the overall shape of the dwarvish paladin, as we so lovingly call it, and a lot more throughout the process as the designing has gone on. So today, even though there is coloring happening, there's still a lot of creativity to be had and discussions to be had. We hang out here, we talk, and we. Well, I mean, I don't do any of the crafting. I do a lot of the watching part. So we watch together and silently, envy Ashley from afar. So join me, and here we are together, just watching and going, yes, that does look like a corgi.
Yes, corgi things are happening on screen.
It's just
I just like hand painting some stuff to again get like that character going. And you can see why it's easier to start out probably doing this in 2D first, because you can get your color values and stuff. If I go, oh man, this this white maybe is like not, because this isn't really pure white, right? Maybe if I wanted it like a little more tan, you can see why that's more of a pain in the butt now to go back and try to like fix that. There's ways to go around it, but it's much more difficult to go backwards in 3D when you're painting just kind of like this. So I like having that roadmap to help me.
That initiative of painting the 2D and then coming in and getting the colors right here, which is really fun to watch. Now, with you, your relationship with corgis, on the grand scheme of dog, where would you put them? Would you put them in top 5 dog? Would you put them in top 10?
That's hard, because I mean you can probably see my dog that's sleeping behind me. So I've always been a big dog kind of person. I love their personalities. I love their shape. So as an artist, I think they're very comical, fun dogs. But I've always been a big dog kind of person. So I don't know if I would ever own one. But I think personality-wise, any of the corgis that I've met have always been pretty adorable. So yeah, I can't say I can complain too much about a corgi. They're pretty cute.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm pretty sure everybody in the chat can agree. There's a direct correlation with how cute something is and how much it waddles. And
yes.
For corgis, they're very high on the waddle meter.
They're very high on the waddle meter, 100%.
Yeah, which is another reason why this Paladin is just so amazing, and how fun it is just the visual of a dwarven paladin all armored up, riding into battle,
waddling into battle.
Yes. At high speeds, right?
At high speeds, a high speed waddle right into battle.
It's just like, their balance will be so immaculate, and it's just really fun. So high speed waddle, which of course will give you advantage on attacks as you waddle into battle. And we had a working list of names and stuff, because I know we were working on names last time. And I
there was one that somebody mentioned for the corgi that I liked. I think, was it Folly or something like that? I'm trying to remember now, because it meant like kind of like silly, or something like that. I'm gonna give him
Folly was, I think that's pretty close.
I thought that one was pretty cute.
I'm sure I have my working list somewhere here. I probably should have titled the document, but as it goes, I get distracted by the amazing stuff that the Archetype family creates during these streams. So what can I do? What can I do?
Yeah. What happens? It's normal. So.
It's normal. It's just the way that it is. Here we go. Oh. just to start off of these names, by the way, that again, if you're just tuning in, all these names that I'm about to name off here have all been suggested by the community and by the chat. So once again, if you have any names for our corgi that we've been working on together as a unit, or this amazing dwarven warrior that rides the corgi. Wow, it looks really good. I know it's still early on, but it still looks really great.
It's pretty
colored
cool.
wise. So if you have any names, please drop them in. Here is what we have so far. We have Long Dog, Wigglebutt, which is pretty good. Wigglebutt's pretty good.
Wigglebutt's a cute one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that one. That's a good one.
Waddlebutt in here, because Waddlebutt is what we're
Waddlebutt.
talking about. Taco, Cheesy, Tofu, Darth Bark.
Tofu's cute.
Yeah. Now we did have Sir Reginald Von Wigglebottom, which was pretty cool. Sir Reginald Von Wigglebottom. I think I put Ein for Bebop. Barker, and then here we go. Molly, Holly, Polly, Dolly, Folly, lack of good sense. And then we also said Charlie, but we were saying it like with an accent. So
Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Charlie, Polly, Dolly, so on and so forth. Now, the lore that we have so far as well is that the corgi is not any kind of, the corgi is not your run-of-the-mill, extremely large mutated dog mount. Oh, no. It is a Shinapami, which is short for, a fancy way to say Shinigami, which is like a death spirit that then gives the power to the Paladin, right? So that's how it smites and so on and so forth. And it is our totally possum Paladin.
Totally possum Paladin.
Yeah. Which, as you can see by this list, and I'm sure you can hear it, we have a lot of fun on this stream. Slashy Charlie, Wookie put in. Slashy Charlie, or Slaw. Could you say that the same way? Slaw? No, not really. I promise there's actual sculpting happening on this stream.
There is. There's shenanigans that happen outside of me also just working, but there's lots of shenanigans.
Yeah, and that should explain to you and elaborate to you how much of a professional Ashley Stegon actually is. Now, Ashley Stegon is an actual professional working artist. She does this professionally, and she's so good at doing it professionally that even in the midst of all of this nonsense of the stream of us having fun and being silly and loosey-goosey, she still generates a very awesome character out of it, which is really great, because this stream does get very silly. Yeah, totally possum.
Totally possum characters.
Okay, so walk us through a little bit of this coloring that's happening right now, because I see a lot of color changes, a lot of shifts. Now, I know that you were saying that you were matching the 2D that you were doing prior, but here, it looks like you're
the colors. So the colors go crazy as long as I'm just picking colors. But it's helpful because now I know what's not colored. You can see the stuff that I'm slowly coloring will stay one color. So I'm just gonna go through and so I'll pick my red. And I know that from my reference, I made his undershirt. So this here, I made that red, so I'll go ahead and fill that object. And I'm just filling the color. So I'm filling the color in the material because I like when I work on stylized stuff, like working in different material. You can work in whatever you want. I mean, you could make them gold, but it's kind of hard to see and sculpt like that. So I pick materials that have like a lot of clarity while I'm sculpting. And so, I'm just going through here and trying to kind of get a sense of value of everything. And again, what I like about this is you can see that, I don't know, when you look at it with one color, it kind of all starts to blend together. But once you start adding that color, it'll start to break up a lot more. And you can start seeing what parts are where and like what's working and what's not working. And I just find that part a lot more helpful. I think I added this little collar thing. I think all of his stuff is gonna be ribbony or like cloth-like. We can do kind of a red, and maybe we can make this color here, maybe a kind of a more muted, darker red, kind of push it back a bit. You know, we can maybe play with something like that. And again, color's always a weird one because color comes with context. So something might look very saturated red, but that might be because it's next to everything that's very cool. So you can't really judge colors until you get kind of all the colors in, which is why I like to do this. Because for example, this blue here on the side, I wanted that to be kind of his brightest color accent. You can see that in my, we can bring down my concept again. You can see in my concept, this blue is probably the brightest blue and it's kind of on his shoes and this part. So it's very selective, whereas his armor, which we'll do something fun with in 3D, is going to be more of like a muted blue. And then you can see the green, not the green, I know colors. The red is also not, it's not like a super, super bright red. So I want the blue, this like bright blue, to kind of be the accent color for everything. Because I think it goes nicely with the accented gold that we have for all the, like the Doge armor, basically, that's happening there.
Armor.
So it just adds a lot of nice breakup. Then the next color accent would be these oranges, which I'll bring in more oranges and more of these bright blues into other little areas. Like you can see I did it on the shoes. Because light blue and this orange are nice and bright, but they're also contrasted colors, right? They're complementary. So it has a lot. And you can see I took a lot of this palette from this reference. And you can see how crazy, look how bright blue that is and how bright red. So that like this costume is really cool. And I took a lot of inspiration from just this one thing. But you can also see over here, like the variety of color is pretty crazy. Like this guy's wearing like this orange, crazy textured thing, but he's got like green pants, right? So,
yeah,
you know, don't be afraid to kind of like I kind of want to, for this project, get kind of crazy with some of the accent colors that we add to it. Like this is a lot of cool little details here, like this trim. So we can get kind of crazy with some colors, and I want to see, you know, just kind of feel out how it looks, and we can kind of change colors as we go. But again, it's nice just to get something in there first. Otherwise, you can't really tell how it's working. So that's why I like to start coloring kind of as soon as possible. Because it just helps you with the kind of breakdown process of getting these things feeling right.
Now, in the 2D, there's some obvious stuff that you're working on that obviously texture-wise, for instance, right? The holder, as you said, that's obviously made of some kind of metal, right? Then you have some obvious fabric stuff. Was there anything as you're working on the 2D, like, you know what? I don't want that to be like a cotton or a poly. I want that to be metal or shiny. Do you figure out a lot of that in 2D? Or is it going to be like, once we're here in 3D, you're going to be like, you know what? Now that I'm looking at the actual textures and stuff, maybe I will change some of them around. Or is it
some of it does? Yeah, some of it does change. I think a lot of it depends on how much I choose to detail. So like cloth, for example, usually will be like areas of rest in a sculpt, where maybe metal or something might have like more intricate detailing or something. So that's going to be areas that are busy. So depending on how I feel like the piece is feeling, I might choose to, you know, add metal in places that weren't in the concept, or vice versa, you know, whether to complicate or to simplify, depending on, you know, what I'm trying to accomplish and achieve with it.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, it's definitely an organic process. Like I don't think it's great to just do your 2D and then just be like, I'm done now. And then never try to stray away from that, because there's so many opportunities to experiment in 3D, you know, that if you just kind of like marry yourself to what you've did in 2D, it kind of doesn't help you explore the medium that you're now moving into with 3D, if that makes sense. That's why I always like to continue to expand upon the idea. Because as you're working,
Right.
you'll start finding kind of like a flow of details where you go, ooh, this would be, like right now, I don't really have a lot figured out for what the gauntlet is in my 2D concept, so I'm trying to make sense of it by kind of replicating what I see in my reference. So there'll be like this extra little
Piece.
That sits kind of like on the back of the hand. So I'm just trying to start, detailing some of these things and fleshing some of this stuff out. And I'll start by detailing the character. I'll flesh out his face usually first, but I want to get a good block in of the full armor first, and then we can kind of go from there. And I have like a gold piece I know that kind of sits somewhere here, but that can kind of change depending on like what I want. Maybe it's more like a gold trim on this gauntlet now. As I start trying to figuring things out in 3D, a lot of your design kind of just has to change. And we can make this gold.
Ooh, it's shiny.
So shiny.
That's what they mean by crypto, by the way, is when you take things and they're shiny. So that's a Dogecoin, right?
That's it. We did it. We made NFT Dogecoin.
Yeah, for anyone looking for some NFT crypto advice, there it is. That's how you do it. It only takes 3 weeks in designing. That's mining.
So I'm going to go ahead and hide the dog because we're not focusing on that now. And this is just always going to be a block in on the side, but you'll see, I kind of want to flesh out the dog pauldron thing first, because I'm going to take that dog and I'm going to use it for his chest piece. And I think maybe putting the dog on the belt piece, sorry. And I think maybe putting another one is a little too much. I think it's too many dogs. So I might try to figure out a different motif. Maybe Chad can help me with, we kind of had bones, but maybe there's something else with dogs, or maybe a corgi specifically that we could maybe kind of thematically start putting in and incorporating. We do have bones already incorporated into like the stitching.
Okay, so we're looking for
for some fun dog motifs,
Dog motifs. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, y'all. So Wookie, Kaisedo, you're here. I'm ready for the tune. I got my fingers ready for some typing. I'm gonna put up dog motifs. We'll have that going on. Oh yeah, those are fantastic, guys.
Right. Done. I did it.
Done. We did it. Yeah, I can't.
Just kidding, you guys.
I don't know. I know a lot of you were worried about what I would be doing to the stream if I joined on. I don't know what I did, because Ashley did, for the first time ever in her entire life, say that yes, there might be too many dogs. So I don't know how that happened, what I did, but here we are. We just got to deal with it, y'all.
I'm sorry.
There may be too many dogs. I apologize.
Sorry.
Dog motifs. I mean, okay.
I'm just trying to think of something else that I could do besides just the dog's head. I think the bone is good. You don't want too many, but there might be something else that's maybe more fun or more subtle that I'm not really thinking of at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, so let's think about dogs as a whole, as just kind of a catch-all, and then we can think of our own dogs, right? My dog loves tennis balls, any kind of ball. He's a big fan of.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, dude, he will go to the ends of the earth for a ball. Same thing with frisbees. He also really likes swimming, so he likes his life jacket. That one's a little bit more specific.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, but if I pull out that fool's life jacket, he loses it. He gets
that's
so
pretty
excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, let's see.
I like the ball idea. That's a cool one. So maybe like maybe he straps like a stuffy. They have like toys. So maybe instead of putting like a gold thing, maybe he holds like one of his dog's like favorite toys. So maybe it can be just like a little pouch that like holds a giant ball for his corgi or something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that would be kind of cool maybe to put on his back. You know, maybe he's got a little thing that holds like a little stuffy
And
toy
just
for his.
he's just
for
like
his dog.
throwing these balls out to the battlefield to control the direction in which he kind of navigates through.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how he controls. I mean, there's no reins on his mount, so maybe that's what he's doing. He's like tossing a ball towards the enemy.
I mean, it
And,
could be just a giant treat bag, right? You and I have been training our dogs pretty consistently. We know how important
That's
it is
true.
to have treats on you, you know, or their
Yep.
food, right? You can put all their food in a bag, either one. So, actually, if you're familiar with the anime, because we're always talking about anime on this stream, there's an anime called Naruto, and there's a character, Gaara, and he has a big old gourd on his back. Maybe something like that, but not a gourd, and actually holds dog treats.
You know what? I have this thing as reference, which is normally holds drinks, but maybe we can have it, and maybe dog treats can come flying out of it or something instead, and we can put that on his back.
Make dog treats
That could be
fly.
fun.
Yeah, let's see, dog treat. This is very fun. I've been so happy to be a part of this stream and work on this amazing sculpt with not only the Gnomon community that watches on the live stream, but also with Ashley, just because it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun.
I hope everybody gets something out of it. I mean, honestly, like the fun is purposeful, because if you're not having fun thinking about these ideas with your character, it's like, what are you doing, man? You know, you got to come up with something cool and interesting that's gonna like hook your general viewers into wanting to find out more about, you know, like who this character is and what they do.
You've also been kind of flying. I mean, it seems like you've been designing at such a rapid pace because it's, you know, is there something there too? Like when something is more fun, like do you ever see that at work when you're like more into designing something? Do you like work more vigorously, or does that ever
I think it's like when you get into some sort of eyes. I always think of the Muppets or Sesame Street when I zero in on these. Yeah, no, it's definitely kind of like you get into like this zone of coming up with cool stuff. That, you know, once you have a story that you're like, oh yeah, this is cool or unique or like original, and you want to like share it with people, that gets me super motivated to continue to sculpt and make stuff. So I never can stray wrong from that, and I think it's just important to come up with these ideas that kind of hone in on that creativity.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Eyes in. I love painting in the eyes because it helps like bring out kind of the personality of the character.
Oh yeah, the thing that I enjoy the most about this character is again the only word that I can think of is the dichotomy, right? The split between. I mean, this dude's got, you know, red eyes and a very square jaw.
Yeah. That's why I gave him the red eyes, because I was like, oh, that'd be fun if it's red, but I don't want them to make them look too evil. I just want it to be something that you wouldn't think of at first, right?
Yeah. And then again, you know, it's just watching this dude and then having this obviously not at all vicious mount is just hilarious. It's kind of like it's kind of like Aang from Avatar, except Aang is kind of, you know, goofy as well
and silly. Yeah.
So it really does add a different element to this character. I mean, just that alone, just the design element alone has so much character and so much story that once we as a unit finally come into some kind of idea of who this person is, then we can kind of go through it. I did think it would be kind of funny if his name was also, we've been trying to think of names for this dwarven character. We have Yogdu, which is good boy but backwards.
I feel like that one's really sticking with me right now. I like that one a lot because I just think it sounds like really evil and intense, you know, like Yogdu.
It's yo,
sort
dude.
of,
Right?
you know.
Because
But then you're like, oh, it's just good boy backwards. Like that's a lot of fun.
oh no, it's yo, Duke. You just hear like a thunderous pattering of stuff coming through.
Yeah.
What?
Underwaddle.
Yeah. What would be a good?
Because that's the only part with naming the dog. Because I want something equally as clever. What's warlord spelled backwards?
Oh well, here let's look at it. Warlord. It would be
like raw.
Roll raw. It's not too bad. Droll raw is kind of cool. I just had this really silly idea, and I don't know how it works. And again, there's really no design aspect attached to it.
Yeah.
But you know, in old war times and all that stuff, they would have like bards, you know, playing a drum or something like that, or somebody hitting a war horn when they were like charging into battle, you know. What if this dog had like for some reason or another had like a squeaky toy? So then like when there were people like hanging out and just like in this war and they're just like, we're winning, we're about to win, they hear like a and they're like, oh no, it's yo, Duke.
Yeah, I like the idea of a squeaker toy causing fear into the hearts of men. You know, like I think that's a lot of fun.
It's so ridiculous. How's it going, Earth? Thank you for tuning into Archetype with Ashley Stegon on the Gnomon School YouTube channel. We appreciate you coming in and asking a question. So this question is actually from Earth to Ashley. The question is, hello. How do you know how we can transfer gizmo position from one subtool to another? Now, before you answer that question, if you understand what that question is, could you explain a little bit on what that question means to the rest of us? So, do you know how we can transfer gizmo position from one subtool to another?
So, so when he talks about the gizmo is this. So it's this little 3D basically thing that allows you to rotate and move stuff around in 3D space. So that's what he's referring to when you say gizmo. That's what that is. When he's talking about subtools are basically, you can see that on the right-hand side here, I have like a long list of things. And this is, you can see all the different parts that make up the sculpt. So what you're asking, technically, you can't really transfer the gizmo's position from one to another. But what you can do is if I want to move, such as like the mustache, with the beard, I can select this and I can select the beard and the mustache here by hitting Control Shift, and I can move these things together while the rest is kind of grayed out. It can be a little funky to do it all the time that way, but that's one way you can move two subtools at the same time is by utilizing this little checkbox. And then when you're happy with where it's at, you can go back to just normal mode. It's a little annoying when things are separated in ZBrush to try to move things together, which is why later on when we get to posing and stuff, I'll usually use the transpose tool, which we'll cover later. I hope that helps.
I mean, that definitely, I learned something out of that. So that's, thank you, Earth, for giving me something. Of course, if you're not already aware, if you have any questions, regardless of the question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. It doesn't even necessarily have to be about ZBrush specifically. However, if you're trying to learn about ZBrush and have questions about it, now is kind of the time. Ashley's really, really good at it. In fact, she teaches at Gnomon, so she's pretty well versed in helping people. But, you know, if you have a question of why Ashley likes One Piece so much, you can ask that too, and I'm sure she'll answer that as well.
That I will also ask 100%. I also realize, I think I want, I don't know, it's hard. I don't know if I want this thing here or not anymore. I can't decide.
What do you mean
this,
by
this cloth little piece here.
Oh, okay.
Because I think there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, I really like always seeing like shoulder pads and belts and like these things underneath. So I'm not really sure yet, but I remind myself that if I do keep it, then I wonder if I can take it and basically make it like a bandana for our little corgi. So he gets like a little bandana, which might be kind of cute. We can put something on that. So we'll see. But I don't know. I'm debating.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, Earth.
I'll keep it for now because I like the silhouette, but I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Earth wasted no time asking about One Piece, so they came in right away, and they're very curious about.
If it's something about recent stuff, I'm not gonna look because I'm not.
No, it's not about recent stuff. They're asking.
No spoilers. No spoilers, anybody, please.
The live action. Are you excited about the live?
No.
She sounds so excited, everybody.
Nope, I don't think it was good. I think it's as excited as I was about seeing the Cowboy Bebop live action, which was I never watched it. So
I watched it. I didn't hate it. I thought it looked really nice. And I really liked. What's his name? John.
I never remember his name. I know who you're talking about. The guy who plays.
Yeah, John Cho.
Yeah, John. Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he made a great Spikes people. I thought so. There's some weird stuff he did.
I think my biggest thing with that stuff is it's the same reason why, I mean, they made Evolution, but I don't want a Dragon Ball live action either. I don't really want any anime to be a live action or like Attack on Titan, because I think for the medium to be as fantastical as it is, like it has to, or the story to be as fantastical as it is, it has to be in that medium. Like, that's why I watch animes, because I love the art and the 2D animation, and like that's where it belongs. So I'm a bit more salty when it comes to that stuff, because I have like a big passion for doing something in the right medium and what story you're trying to tell. Because there's tons of live action movies that wouldn't do well in like a cartoon form, right?
Like Terminator.
So like Terminator is a great example. I just think it's one of those things that like the medium you choose to do something in is just as important in your storytelling as the story itself. So I'm just not a big fan of people being like, let's take everything and make it live action. Because like I think the magic of older Disney movies and things was not having it be live action. The magic of Cinderella, or the magic of these movies, is it being animated. Beauty and the Beast is an amazing movie because like the animation is amazing and the character designs are awesome, and yeah. So that's my thing, is like I think the medium is a big part of the storytelling.
Well, before we get deeper into that conversation, we need to have some kind of like Gnomon sticker or emoji. We're gonna figure that out for the live stream, y'all.
We need way more emojis. 100%.
Yeah. So Wookie, long time tuner inner of Archetype, was saying I was thinking
like
about
a reward or something.
I was thinking about having the side of the corgi head. Okay, so the side of the corgi head, maybe two heads back to back for some part of the armor. So I'm thinking they're talking about the pauldron, or maybe the side of the actual corgi head.
Oh, you want like the side, maybe like the side profile of the corgi head, kind of like coming out as like a shape? Is that what you mean? That might be what it means.
So elaborate.
That could be cool. I could see that. Because then you would get a more interesting shape than just like the front side of like the front face of the corgi. So you could get like a more fun shape that way, but it would still be the dog. So I do like that idea. I think that's a good idea. Definitely try it. I think that would make a cool little belt strap. So we'll definitely try to sculpt it and see how it turns out.
That's the best part. It's just adding to this whole wondrous.
The fattest fingers ever. I love it.
I'm quite a fan.
Giant.
I think they're fun looking.
I also, yes, I'm aware that he only has 3. I just think it's fun. I did it, and I was gonna add another one that I kind of looked at the shape and I was like, I kind of like it. I'm just gonna stick with 3. I think it's kind of fun.
I mean, if there's anybody that wants to come at us for this fantasy warrior that we have in a fantasy world that is a fantasy species for only having 4 fingers, then go ahead and write the essay and submit it to us.
You can attack us. Go ahead.
Yeah. And we will hear you out. That's what we're here for.
I just think I like the shape, so I don't want to ruin it by trying to add another finger. I'm just like, I kind of just like it being funky like this.
Yeah, and it almost it feels it. We don't really see the whole body of the dwarf right now, but it does kind of fit the whole. Yeah, I mean, it really fits really well, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I'm just gonna stick with it.
Yeah.
I was originally gonna split this middle one, right, basically to be 2, but I think his finger just gets too thin, and then you have to like finagle a bunch of other stuff, and I was like, nah, I'm just gonna keep it.
So I thought to myself, this is the main warlord. So we're gonna say that you'll do, leader of the pack. This is first in, last out. Okay.
Yeah.
But what would be great is, that moment in every war movie where there is, two sets of armies lining up, right? One set of army lining up, with their bows and arrows, and they're like, draw, and they draw the arrows, and they're holding them, and they're like, hold, and they're just holding the arrows, right? They let them fly.
Yep.
The other side that has something. It would be great if Corgi Warlord side had a bunch of catapults, and they were like, hold, and then they were like, fire, and the catapults shot out tennis balls. And the tennis balls flew, and then all the corgis just right. It's like rowing. But like,
I love the idea of like a horde of corgis following. Like
all of these giant tennis balls that are in the air.
Yeah, I love that. Well, also, I mean, I thought you were also gonna mention like who does he fight, right? So on the other side, we could do like a cat versus dogs thing, right? So maybe the other warlord rides like a kind of like a cat mount, but it's got to be like a really floofy, non-threatening looking cat.
Yeah.
Just to play into this world more.
Yeah. What are the ones that are just like? What are the ones with the grumpy face? The flat grump. It's almost like a pug face.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I don't know what breed. I know all breeds of dogs. I know no breeds of cats. So.
Yeah, I was very specific. I looked pug face, flat face cat on Google, by the way.
Oh, what is the what do we got?
We got quite a few. Oh my gosh, this one's pretty good. Okay, to 10 flat face cats that you love. See, this already is turning into, the next series, building a world. This is all part of building that world, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so Persian cats do end up having that kind of just scrunched face. There's also a type of cat called a munchkin cat, which is great.
Oh, the munchkin cat is basically a corgi, but it's the cat version of a corgi. So the munchkin cat would be the ultimate versus.
Oh, or Scottish fold cats, which are the ones that have the ears that aren't really ears.
Oh yeah, they got the little curled.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
What a war we are.
Yeah, right.
Making right now.
I love it.
So great. Yeah. So we got this ever growing war. Now it's dwarves. It has to be an elvish clan with these cats, right? Because
I think so. Yeah, it's got to be something long and something contrasting for sure.
Yeah, and so it would just be like it'd be even greater if the elves also had this really luscious flowing hair because they brush, the cat's hair, and they all use the same. It'd be weird, like some cat people are weird, like they all share the same food. Maybe they live by, the ocean, constantly fish, all that fun stuff.
I love it. That sounds great.
Oh yeah, so we got this fantastic war of the dogs versus cats, the age old.
Tale as old as time.
Looping right back around to Beauty and the Beast. I see what you did there.
Yeah, that's right. You better believe it.
Smooth. Now, I mean, you're kind of freeforming this pauldron right here, right? Like, I mean, obviously, you know, you.
I just know that there's a. Yeah, I just know that it's gonna be a dog, right? And it's gotta look somewhat kind of like our corgi. And I'm just kind of playing with like how relief do you want it to be? You know, I don't think I want it to be a crazy relief, so it's pretty flat for the most part. Keeping it simple. And I can straighten it first, and then I can bend it later if I need to. So that's kind of what I'm gonna try to do here. I'm gonna kind of re-straighten it to get something, and then I can bend it later, just so I can see how relief we're getting.
So Earth's coming in with another question saying, can we disable the dialog box which appears whenever you delete a subtool so it won't appear every time we restart ZBrush?
I think every time you restart ZBrush, it'll always pop up, but if I hit delete, this, he's talking about this always pops up. I don't know if you can see it on the, there you go. Thank you, James. Yes. I don't know if you can always see it, but it says, it'll come up with this pop-up. I personally never get rid of it because ZBrush is evil and it has duplicate and delete right next to each other. And they're the same size button. And the thing about delete is the moment you delete a subtool, you cannot undo it in ZBrush. So it's gone forever, unless, and then the only way to get back is to like open up another save file that has that tool in it. So I personally like the extra warning, so I never tell it to turn off because I always want the really make sure you're deleting it. Like, are you sure you want to delete it? And I say yes, because you can't get it back once you delete it. So that's why I like to keep it. I'm trying to give them kind of fluffy puffy.
There you go.
Here.
So I think the takeaway here is that if you want to jump out of a plane with just one parachute, you can. You definitely can.
Go for it.
Go for it. However, understand that, you know, you can't go back into the plane and grab the other parachute. You know, that it is what it is. Rono says, hello, Ashley and friend. Hello. Pleasure to.
Hello. I always see his name and think of Zorro, so I'm always excited to see his name.
Rono. Zorro. Live action animes are always bad, but the characters are looking cool, is what they said. So I'm not sure if they're saying the characters in the One Piece live action are looking cool, or Yogduke and Doge are looking cool. But thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I'm gonna take it. I'm just taking a compliment. I'll just grab that one.
And again, the live action anime is always being bad. You know, I don't mean to be like the devil's advocate, but again, you know, I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan. Literally on my AirPods case, I got Spike Spiegel. I have a Cowboy Bebop tattoo. I'm a huge Cowboy Bebop fan, big time. And the show, the live action show, visually, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed it visually. I think that, as you said, Ashley, there are just some things that character-wise, like in anime, they just don't really translate as well from anime to live action. And one of the biggest things with Bebop is the fluidity of the animation, right? Like a lot of Spike Spiegel and his inspiration is really based on Bruce Lee, right? Like, even if you watch the show, at one point he gives the whole water spiel, right? Be like water, that whole thing. They take the whole Bruce Lee bit and they just make Spike say it. And to do that in live action, the only way to do it is to make them move and flow like Bruce, which they're not going to do, right? They're just going to do fight scenes however they do it. So a lot of those intricacies, you know, they can get lost. A lot of the overacting, I guess you could say, it's because in anime it's not overacting, right? It's just anime. When somebody acts like ridiculous or gets really close to the camera and their eyes split like that, like the tsundere moment. And so that's kind of like a weird transition, and there hasn't been that kind of meld yet. Maybe it will, but to your point, it works really well in anime because again, you can be like, oh, that's just anime, versus when you're watching it live action, you're like, wow, that person looks ridiculous. Why are they screaming and crying like that?
That's the thing. If you were to watch Demon Slayer, no one's gonna hear what's his face cry all the time.
Yeah.
Zenitsu's not gonna cry the whole time. Like, that's just not working in live action. And that's okay. Like, that's what I like about it, is that it doesn't work in live action.
Yeah.
That's what makes the medium of anime interesting. Is like they have their own even like the big teardrop. Like, we don't ever do that in real life. That's not a thing. Or like the 3-star asterisk thing to say that you're angry. Like, those are all stylistic choices that I think are so interesting when you pick a certain medium. And like, it's like the simplification of like emotion and emoting, and I just think how you choose your medium is always really important for that stuff. So that's why I'm always going to be like really harsh on that stuff. I also think people are making certain live action pieces not because they loved it, but because they're like, this might make a lot of money. And then they do it, and you're like, oh. But do you like Avatar: The Last Airbender movie?
Yeah.
Like they didn't watch the show. If they watched the show, that movie would have been so much better. They watched like one episode, was like, guys, I got it. We can take it from here. Like, no. That's not how that works.
Yeah, he bends air like Play-Doh. Easy, done. Let's do it.
It takes 20 earthbenders to move one tiny rock. Okay.
Yeah.
Really? It's like.
Now that all being said, I do want to make one thing very clear, that I do think that it's possible only because of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I feel like Scott Pilgrim
is cool.
And it
it's
did
so
not
hard to pull something.
seriously.
Yeah. It is hard to pull something like that off every time.
Yes.
Because it's kind of a satire, where something like Cowboy Bebop does take itself seriously, but it's because of like, you can kind of have not serious moments in anime and have it still be very serious. One Piece is a pretty serious anime as you get deeper and deeper into the story. I mean, you don't even have to get that deep into the story for it to get really real, but they can still have these like really charming, cool moments. And that's the hardest thing, is like, you kind of have to turn live action into like a satire of itself in order for it to work sometimes. But by the way, I'm also not like, if you like any of this, that's awesome. That's the point of film, and that's the point of anime, and it's the point of media in general, is like, you are more than welcome to like anything. This is just me talking. I'm just nerding out about stuff. I just want to make that clear. I'm not going to be like, I try really hard not to talk too, or sound like I'm talking too trashy. That's not my job. That's not my goal. My goal is more of I just like breaking down why things are the way they are. That's just like that artist side of me. Trying to understand like why do I like anime, right? And for all those reasons I mentioned, that's why I like it, and that's why I don't think it should be replicated in live action, because I think it's the same thing that I have with video games turning into movies or shows. If you want to, my personal opinion is, if you want the real story of Last of Us, you play the game, because that's the medium that it's made in. So I'm like that with everything. It's not just anime or anything.
It's nothing against Pedro Pascal. You just prefer, I mean, there is a level of stakes. Now we'll get back to this conversation, just as a quick aside, because Earth asked a question on what is your favorite live action. So I'm going to go ahead and say that they're not talking about live action anime, because we've already had this long discussion about that. So I think there's just an overall, what is your favorite live action? Let's go TV show, and let's go film. What are your favorite live action TV show? What's your favorite live action film?
I'm assuming he means like live action is in just live action, doesn't have to be like adapted from something. Because I have no favorite when it comes to like a live action anime. I don't watch any of them. So I don't have.
I figured.
When it comes to like a film, my favorite movie is Jaws. I love Jaws.
Okay.
I love Blade Runner. Blade Runner's awesome.
Nice.
I love the new Dune as a live action. It's amazing.
TV
TV shows are hard. I think the last really good TV show, except for not except for season 4. We'll see what they do. But I really like Stranger Things. I thought Stranger Things season 2 is incredibly well written. As far as TV shows, honestly, that's the only one that stands out that's live action to me. I don't watch a lot of TV shows because it takes too much dedication.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie, you watch it in like 2 hours, 3 hours, and you can be done.
Mhm.
But a show, it's like, you have to give Game of Thrones commitment. We all know how that turned out. So
You're like, I can't do it again.
I can't do it again. Yeah, I do too much art and other things, So
I also, I like Blade Runner as well. I think for me in that era, my favorite live action movie, I guess my two favorite is one which is my feel good movie, like it is my chicken soup when I'm not feeling well, is Back to the Future.
I love that.
Back to the Future. I really enjoy Inception, the movie. I think that movie's awesome.
That's a good one.
And then of course Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Star Wars is great.
Yes.
I've never been I'm not like a diehard Star Wars fan, but I love Rogue One's great and Empire Strikes Back is great.
Yeah.
My chicken soup for the soul is whenever I'm sick or whenever I just don't know what to watch, I will always put on Lord of the Rings. Always.
Nice. Okay. Wow.
So,
You're like, I'm just gonna get tucked in here. I'm just gonna watch.
I easily watch that movie twice a year. And
Nice.
one time just for fun, and then the other time is whenever I'm sick, I will always put it on. I'll put on the extended editions. There's no other way to watch it. You gotta watch the extended editions. So it's like 12 hours of content. It's awesome.
Nice. No compromise. That's exactly. I mean, that's exactly how I am with Bebop. I watch Bebop every year. I always go through it. Same thing with Star Wars. I'll pick and choose which one I feel like watching. But yeah, I mean, I love Rogue One. My dog's name is Cassian.
Cool.
Yeah, it works out great. The Earth also said, but Last of Us is so good in live action. I agree, but I think I agree with Ashley's point because the stakes when you're playing the game, the stakes
when you are Joel,
so high.
when you are Joel and you are in charge of protecting Ellie, like that's what makes that story so impactful. Is like you are the character. You're not. That's the part about games that I think is so. That's why like BioShock is good, right? Like, BioShock wouldn't be good if you were just like watching the character go through that stuff. Like you got fooled, right? Like I think that's the part that is so intriguing about. Not too much.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of games you get fooled, right? Like in Portal or anything like that. Like, but that's the point. Is it's your experience going through, which makes it such an impactful story. Not saying that like it can't be a good show. I'm sure it's good. I've played the game, so I just don't feel the need to watch the show because like I've experienced that story in a way that like I think is more powerful than watching. Now, if you're someone who doesn't really like playing games and you want to experience that story and movies is your go-to medium, awesome. Like I think that's cool, right? So whenever I watch something like an anime or I play a game, like that's how I absorb that medium and that entertainment. But that's also coming from me who like I work in games, so like I appreciate how they're made and like there's very specific story elements that happen. And choices you make as a game developer because there's a player involved, because there's a person that you can't control their actions, you have to think of like the player experience. So it just adds like a lot more, it makes it more personal and intimate when you get into storytelling in that sense. So
For sure. And I think that especially with The Last of Us 2, it just feels like, again, there's just more panic and urgency, right? Like if you're in, the museum, if you watch the show when they're in the museum versus when you played in the game, it has two very distinct feelings. One of them being is you have a gun and there are bottles and bricks around. And I am a big fan of trying to use a bottle and bricks to get from point A to point B in Last of Us. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. And it starts going downhill fast.
Right.
We pull out
when you run out of bullets, or like when you hear a clicker and you're you're just not trying to move and the controller's vibrating.
Or if
you're just like,
a whole area, you're like keeping your eye on the clickers behind you, but you're not looking in front of you, and you're like moonwalking backwards, and then you accidentally run into another one, and they just like, oh god. I think that's the only game.
It's a great experience. It's so fun.
Yeah. But you don't get that with the show, right? Because they have to manufacture that feeling.
Yeah.
Of that
it's not that it can't be done. We feel suspense and horror all the time. It's just a different experience regardless, because you are not in control. You're watching an actor do a thing, and you can feel suspense through that actor. You can feel suspense and stuff, but it's just a very different. Oh god, I thought I saw a mosquito. Don't bite me. It's just a very different experience, when you do that stuff. My dog is sleeping, and her head is laying all the way out on the couch. What are you doing? You're so weird.
I think video games do this very interestingly, I guess, if I could say that it never fully feels like, even though your character does, obviously, it never fully feels like your character has plot armor, because you watch them die, you watch them get eaten,
Right.
The TV show, you're like, well, nothing's gonna happen to Joel. If something happens to him, the show's over.
The show's over. Yeah. No, definitely. That's a good point too.
Yeah, and conceptually, obviously, when you're playing the game, you have a million lives, so you, in theory, you obviously have plot armor, but it just doesn't feel that way.
It doesn't feel the same. Well, because you feel more responsible. Where's my stuff?
Responsible for deaths. So Rono tuned back in and said, I guess the only something made live action I think did a good job for me is Mortal Kombat. The latest one is the weaker one, I think.
The old Mortal Kombat, that movie's fun. Like, it's just fun. I can't disagree with you there. I think it's just a fun thing.
Amazing soundtrack.
Soundtrack's good. Yep.
You can't really get more iconic than Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Sorry.
They really dug deep into like just keeping it like the game, I think, too. Like, they played a lot of homage to just keeping it very gamey, but a film. Which most times doesn't work, but because Mortal Kombat's like kind of cheeseball and crazy to begin with, you can kind of get away with it. It's like when they make Suicide Squad, right? Like, James Gunn can go crazy with that because it's Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
It is kind of crazy and wacky and out there. So
yeah, so it looks like there was Mortal Kombat Conquest, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and then Mortal Kombat Legacy. There's actually been quite a few Mortal Kombat.
That's a lot of Mortal Kombats. That's more than I remember.
It almost feels like the game too, because there are so many Mortal Kombat games.
There are. I've not played enough of them, probably. Too much to keep up on, though. Those also, you take so much dedication to learn each one. I don't have that kind of time anymore.
The FGC is real. For those of you that know, but for those of you who don't know, FGC is fighting game community. And those people usually keep these games going. Okay, Earth, tune back in here. Do you also do drawing along with sculpting? Yes.
Yes. We can show. We could show the drawings. So if you're new, Earth, to our. I like saying Earth because it feels like I'm like there's more than just one person
Yeah.
watching. Like Earth,
Oh,
check
Earth.
this out. Check this out, Earth. Yeah. So every start of the, we try to finish it within the month. So every month we start a new character, and the first stream is always drawing. So we come up with a fun concept, and I draw it. And in the stream, I didn't get to color it, but I colored it after the fact. So this is the concept that we're basing off of, and this is our own concept that we did on stream, coming up with a fun, cool idea for a Paladin. So this is what I'm basing all my stuff off of, as I'm sitting here and nerding out with you guys. And I don't have much to say about the technical process. I think most of you guys can kind of see that it's just a lot of fun little making placements and things. I think I will add that belt buckle like Wookie mentioned, I think. So
Oh yeah.
but for now I'm gonna leave it as like a placeholder, but this is kind of how I make belts and straps. It's very useful.
Ooh, okay, so we got a question in from Ubiro Haruna. Have you seen Kizazi Moto? And I just looked it up, and it looks kind of cool, actually.
What is it?
Really rad. When did this come out? This action-packed animated sci-fi anthology presents 10 futuristic visions from Africa, imagining brave new worlds of advanced technology.
Oh, yeah. I have yet to watch that. That's pretty new, isn't it? I'm pretty sure that's pretty recent because what's his name? Rocket Boy did some stuff on it. I love anthologies. I'm a big fan of Short Piece.
Yeah.
Short Piece is super cool.
That's dope. Mubiru, do you suggest this watch? I mean, I think I might end up watching it regardless. I'm watching a muted trailer. It looks really cool. I love animated stuff. I mean, we already talked about, anime for almost an hour. But I do also love animated stuff. Love Death and Robots, Animatrix. I like Star Wars Visions. I also like Star Wars Rebels, if we're going to get into that. Bad Batch, all that kind of jazz. I'm quite a huge fan of that stuff. So this looks really fun.
Yeah, that one looks really good. I just recently watched the new teaser to Junji Ito's Uzumaki that'll be coming out.
Yeah, I just watched that.
Pretty stoked for that one.
Yes.
I love that manga. It's sitting right there. So I love that manga. It's so terrifying and awesome. So yeah. I'm really looking forward to that one because it looks like his art style, like they're doing it in black and white, and it's gonna be terrifying. I can't wait. Yeah,
and I'm very excited about it because his other animes before were not so great. Because of exactly what you just mentioned, it doesn't carry over that art style fully. And it just doesn't translate so well. So you have to lean into the story, but Junji is sort of like Tim Burton in that way. You need the visuals and you need the story.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with you on that one. I'm pretty excited. I was actually pretty impressed because I was a little worried. I was like, man, because when they first released a teaser of it way back when, it was kind of like all these storyboard just stills, and I was like, I don't know if that's really gonna sell it. But then the animation, I was like, the animation's pretty cool. I think it's very unique, which I think is cool. It's hard to come up with something so unique and also try to match a style of somebody who's also got such an interesting, weird style too. So I think it looks promising. I'm looking forward to watching it. So
that is the one benefit of the popularization of anime is because there's such a high consumption now. People are allowing anime to take more royalties. I think that's one of the reasons why Trigger, the animation company, really started blowing up, was because they just started elongating and stretching and all the anime tropes. They just blew them. They took them from 100 all the way to 10,000. Fans really started doing it. So now people are able to do stuff like, okay, well, instead of us doing you know, this whole thing, why don't we just make it all black and white, right? Same thing.
Right. Well, I think the vibe of that stuff, I think you're right, where, you know, I mean, even look at something like Into the Spider-Verse, which isn't, you know, an anime, but like, I think people want more stylized stuff, or like what Love, Death, and Robots is, like, that cool, unique style of art form is coming back. I think someone last stream mentioned Alberto Mignello, who's amazing. And yeah, I think like it's becoming more mainstream to get into that stuff, and I think it's awesome because it means like we get to see more of it for people who've always really enjoyed it and appreciated it. Because I think that's what the, you know, it's no longer just like making the next like Shrek looking movie. It's you know, what can you do with 3D? Like how can you push 3D to look different and unique and fun? So I think there's tons of cool stuff that you can do with it in that regard.
For sure. I mean, even one of my favorite comic book artists by the name of best name ever, I think, too, by the way. His name's Raphael Grandpa. He recently,
pretty good.
Yeah. He recently has this whole like Batman show that's about to come out as well, in kind of his style. It's just very exciting. It's a really, really good time. So say, yeah, if you're thinking about getting into visual effects, animation, or games, hey, we're here. Come check out Gnomon. Send us an email at info@gnomon.edu. Like we're saying, now's the time. Hey, get started right now. If you're watching this stream or wondering for your call, you know, your calling, this is it. This is your beacon to start right away, because it's such a fun time to not only consume content, but I'm assuming to make it as well.
I mean, I'm having a good time.
And we're having fun hanging out with y'all and talking about all this stuff, which is super great. So explain to us where you're at right now. I let you have enough time not explaining it, so now.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yes, I'm just, if you can see, this is one of those techniques that I like to use where I'm utilizing, I have made these little meshes here in this thing for belts and straps. So it's just a compilation of a bunch of different types of like ways belts and buckles and stuff can work. And it's just a way to start adding detail to things really quickly. I always feel like making sure that you're kind of like tying down, so to speak, like how this stuff is, you know, attaching to one another and kind of clicking with each other. It adds like a lot to your piece very early on and really quickly. So it's one of those things that I like to do because it'll start making me feel like I'm starting to flesh out the piece more. So this is just something that I'm doing to block out some straps and stuff. And this is where we can add, you know, he'll have his little water canister or squeaky toy hanging out in the back. And I just like this because it's a really easy way to attach belts and things without having to model all this. Like to model all of it would be very, very annoying. So this is kind of my workaround. And now I can merge the front and the back, and then I can just stitch the two together and call it a day. Usually it takes me less time, but we got very, very talky and distracted, so it's okay though.
Sorry about that.
No, we're good. We're good. No worries.
This is what we sign up for here, Chad. With a little.
You can see I can just easily bridge this over though now and.
Oh, nice.
Insert that and grab that, and I'm gonna pull it up to where it's, you know, sitting on his shoulder kind of properly. And then now if I need more geometry, I can just keep inserting stuff.
Yeah.
I like building belts this way because if you think about straps and belts, all it is it's a tension point from somewhere going to somewhere else. So I think making sure that you're kind of drawing it or modeling it in a way that's like a straight line, or thinking of it as like tension points, which is why I model it that way, is I'm creating tension between like the buckle and the belt and things like that. I think you end up with a better result faster than trying to sit here and like, you know, use the curved brush for a belt or something like that, especially for stylized stuff when I want it to be very clean.
Yeah.
I find like something like this just makes it a lot faster. I didn't colorize the back, so this is gonna drive me crazy. I gotta fix that. There we go.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I thought that was intentionally white, but now I get what you're saying.
No. There we go. Right. So now we can start feeling the whole character. And these things will flesh out really quickly too. So, for example, I'm gonna work on this one piece, and then it's basically gonna be the same piece on the side and the back. So I can probably use a ray mesh to try to position it. And so this will come together really quickly when you just start. I like to start by detailing like one piece out pretty well, and then everything kind of comes together after that.
Very cool. Oh, we got Earth again. Earth says, how do you use the transpose tool for your workflow?
I'm assuming he means the transpose tool is in like the not gizmo tool. So it's this one, which is horrible. So this was the old way of moving stuff around, and it was just 2D camera based, whereas the gizmo now actually has like a 3D orientation. So I don't use the transpose master or the transpose anymore. I just use the gizmo, and I use it to snap to. You can hold Alt and snap it to different parts of your model. So it's a way to really easily move and orient your model around if you need to. So that's usually what I'll use, if that makes sense to you.
So it's pretty much either or are there things that you can do with the gizmo tool that you can't even do with the transpose tool?
Yeah, there's things you can do easier with the gizmo tool that kind of renders the transpose tool kind of useless. There's like a ray mesh still uses it for certain things. Like it'll be used in weird ways in ZBrush, but not in the ways you expect. Okay, why are you like this?
Why are you like this?
It's not letting me select the things that I was.
Because you were talking about all that smack about the transpose tool.
I was, and it was like, oh really? Here. I'm gonna be rude now.
Yeah. I'm just not gonna do what you want me to do.
It's really just
very cool. Well, while they're working on this, I just wanna let y'all know. Hey, how's it going? I'm Chris. Welcome once again to Archetype. I know we pretty much went through the whole stream without telling you where you are and what you're watching. No, we did a little bit at the beginning, but then we got
a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah, we started talking and having some wondrous conversation, which is one of the reasons why we're here on Archetype, is to interact with you, the audience, and talk with you, the audience, in a chatting forum. However, not only do we do that, we also, well, I mean, I don't, but Ashley does all this amazing sculpting and concept character, and every month does a new one and goes from A to Z all the way within a span of a month. And this month, we're working on a Dungeons and Dragons Dwarven Paladin that we've so lovingly named a Paladin, because this awesome dwarvish warlord rides on a oversized corgi into battle, ready to dominate their enemies, the cat. What was the cat again? Scottish fold cat.
Scottish fold cat. Is that one we decided to go with? Probably.
Yeah, well, some cat with a hilarious face is what we're looking for. But it's no joke. It's a bloody war that's been going on for centuries, and you know, lots of catnip and dog kibble has been lost to time.
Oh, the horror stories of catnip.
Yeah, catnip. And we wouldn't have designed any of this stuff if it wasn't for you. Everybody here in the chat has participated in some way or another on some piece or another of this super awesome character, and it was really great to work on it together with you. So if you're here, thank you. If you're new, hey, chime in. Just like Earth, we might not have seen Earth before, but we're really glad that Earth is here and interacting with us and watching this.
Just say hi. We don't fight.
Yeah.
Think. I
We
think we
don't.
don't bite.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe the corgi does, but I don't.
Yeah. The dogs would, but they're asleep, and I mean, my dog maybe. My dog's doing this thing right now where he punches me with his teeth. It's really not. I don't think
That sounds awful.
he doesn't do it on purpose, but he doesn't have any breaks right now because he's a year and 2 months right now. So like you could see in his brain he's trying to like be like calming down because he's German Shepherd, Border Collie, Australian cattle dog. So like a lot of his brain is like, I'm an adult now, I'm mature, I got it figured out, I don't have to be crazy. And then all of a sudden, boom, he'll just get super crazy and he'll like, clear a 6-foot wall and then he'll jump back on the other side of the wall and then just come at me like, let's play catch. But,
yeah,
just jump into my arms. So it's really tough. It's really tough. When we got him, he was 22 pounds and now he's 67 pounds. So.
Oh, wow, yeah. That's a lot of dog coming at you.
Yeah. And it was great when he was small and cute, but and I think this would actually be a great character thing for our dwarf as well. That it also has to deal with
right?
That this giant corgi has never grown out of the puppy habits.
Yes, puppy for life.
Yeah, for sure. My wife has had the hardest time with it because when he was small, she was like, I just want him to sit in my lap when we're in the car, and so he did that always. And then he got 67 pounds and he still wants to do it.
He still wants to do it, yeah.
Yeah, and now she's like, no. And he's like, what do you mean no? So, I just imagine this giant corgi sitting on this dwarf's lap, but then obviously the dwarf is just like sprawled out on the ground like, oh, get off me.
Well, that would be a really fun like character drawing. It's doing doing one that feels like yeah, he's getting sat on by his getting smushed by his dog.
Which would be.
So you can see I'm making now like the little skirt, and it's always dumb on the other side, but it always gets flipped around for some reason. But that's easy enough to fix.
Yeah, you're flipping each piece individually right now?
Yeah, you just have to spin the edges of the face for some reason. It used to not do that actually in older versions of ZBrush, but for some reason they're like, I don't know. Let's make it worse. Sorry, ZBrush, I love you. It's not what I meant, but somehow something breaks and you're like, oh man, because you're like, I really liked that before.
Earth also said that I guess it is useful for measuring. Oh, the transpose tool. I guess they're saying the transpose tool.
That is true. You can set it to be, if you bring in a 12-inch cube and then you make the transpose a length, you can set the unit to 12 because technically ZBrush has just what's known as like black box units, which means it's just a number. So it doesn't know that 12 means 12 inches. It could mean 12 whatever, 12 puppies or 12 corgis, if you want. So yeah, that is one useful thing of it, is you can do that.
What a measurement. Everything's measured in puppies. That would actually be
Wouldn't that be
good.
amazing?
I'm going to start typing out a little bit of this lore. Use puppies as measurements, which is pretty great. Add more with cats that are ridden by elves.
It's very important.
What would cats and dogs?
Keep this.
I mean, just mortal enemies, but there has to be some kind of land, right?
Could be something, yeah.
Yeah, it has to be over like a desert or something, because dogs love to dig and cats need a giant litter box, right? So they're just fighting over this main area because it's like, dude, like we just want to dig, and the cats are like, well, we're running out of spaces to go to the bathroom in our home, right? And that is the ever growing war. Oh, I like the bones.
Yeah, so I'm starting to I'm gonna take this, and I like to I'm just going to draw on some very square looking bones. Because our whole character is pretty square, so we can get something like that. And then I can take that and I can just extract it.
Whoa!
It always comes out to be really thick for some reason. You have to play with really tiny numbers in ZBrush.
Really tiny puppies.
Really tiny puppies, yeah. Then we can take that and then.
Now, at what phase, or does it change every time? What phase do you like to kind of start locking in materials? At the end, do you go, okay, let's just try a bunch of different materials and see what they look like? Or like as you go, you're like, no, I'm positive this is the material that I want it to be.
It's kind of I start locking stuff down usually around this phase. Like all these parts that I'm doing, I kind of have an idea of where I want to go with it or what I want it to look like, you know. So I'll start kind of solidifying that stuff. Not a lot of stuff will change from here on out, because if you just keep changing stuff, then it makes it really hard to, you know, finish stuff. So it's important to at some point kind of be like, okay, I gotta kind of put the brakes on now and kind of stick to something, you know.
Yeah, it's a self-edit, as it were.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so let's get back to it, chat. We're working on dog motifs here. So we were talking about different symbolism that represent, right? That isn't just like a dog face or a bone. We had balls like tennis balls or just any kind of, you know, baseball, whatever. Frisbees. We had dog treats. Is there anything else you can think of that, like, when you see it, you're like, oh, I think dog.
I think dog.
Yeah, go ahead and put that in the chat, because Ashley's been thinking of other things that we can put, I guess, on the livery. I guess that's what you would call it. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Decoration, yeah, of Yogdu here. So different types of dog stuff. You know, it's so weird because it didn't even occur to me that like my brain's just drawing a blank right now. Let's do.
No, it's weird how you can just easily be like, I don't know anymore. You figure it out. Why do you ask the chat for help? I'm out of ideas.
Yeah, that's why we're asking them. I mean, I guess a snout, but a nose. The nose wouldn't necessarily be like a dog nose, right?
True.
Let's do dogs like.
I don't know why I did the bottom. I'm just gonna duplicate it. I'm so silly.
Growling, cheese. Maybe varying types of bones. Oh, sticks, branches, sticks.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry for the reverb.
Yeah.
Bones. There's also a moment in this process where, like, you know, I'm working on these bones and I was like, I don't know if they look very good right now. But then once you kind of merge it down and then you start putting it with other stuff, I don't know, it kind of starts to come together later. So make sure that there's like trim.
At what point do you feel like you like take too much time on one thing? Does that ever happen? Where you're like, you know what? I'm
not you. That actually doesn't usually happen with me because I get bored too fast.
Oh.
I'm just like, all right, I'm done with this, and then like I just kind of want to move on to the next thing. So my problem is actually staying into a piece for you know, like not staying long enough for a piece, usually. But that's always my crutch.
is just getting out of stuff quickly where you're like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess just beans as a whole might be a good move. Or no, that's more cat, right? Beans versus dog. Like I know they could work for either one, but I feel like the symbolism wise, a lot of people like when they think of like the bottom of a foot for like a cat, that can
Oh yeah,
be
you could do the little. Yeah, I mean, you could do a dog paw. They're a little different, you know. So as long as you make sure that you keep it looking more like a dog paw, I think you could do that. That would definitely work.
Stick paw. I mean, yeah, that's the move, right? You get a stick, you put it on a bow, and you're like, boom,
Right.
fetch, paw. That'd be kind of cool. Hold, and then like some warlord's like, fetch, and then everyone's like, fetch, and then all these dogs go.
You just need more silly war of this. Like I like the idea a lot. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, but it's real to them. That's what makes it so.
Yes, 100%. It's got to feel.
Yeah, it is so real. Do you set up any macros in ZBrush? Earth asked.
No, I just keep usually the same shortcuts that they have.
That seems to be kind of the going conversation with a lot of people that I've met that use ZBrush. There's some people, I think Jared Kraszewski, who also has a stream on Tuesdays, if you get a chance to check it out, has like a very different kind of layout for their ZBrush. I think they have all of the things out at one time.
Yeah. I mean, to each their own, definitely.
Right.
I think the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing for me is, well, I also teach, so I try to remember all the shortcuts as they are. So I don't like creating new anything. The only thing that I change is instead of saving projects, I save Z tools. That's pretty much it. So it doesn't become much fancier than that. I'm gonna duplicate this now.
Predictable routine. You know, in a lot of ways, this warlord is turning out to be kind of the epitome of what a dog does like, right? A dog does like somebody that is in charge, that they can rely on, that'll take the lead, right? Dogs generally don't like to take the lead and all that stuff. So this is really cool that this dude is turning into all of that.
Yeah, I think it's fun. Like I think the idea I like the most because of what we said before, where like I think the contrast is very funny. Yeah. Where they take this very seriously, but in our eyes, it's a very kind of like silly play on something that usually is very lighthearted and fun. So I think that contrast is always really fun to put into your work if you can. Taking something too seriously for too long and not having enough contrast in your work, I think can be kind of problematic. Because that doesn't create like a point of interest at some point.
Yeah, I mean it can. I think they're just the interesting thing usually there is fleshing out more than like we talked about, kind of rehashing and, you know, making live action stuff. It's almost the same thing. Like when you have a really serious premise, well, what is the serious premise that is new? What's the new fight that, you know, is the world going to end? Okay, well, we've, you know, had to fight from the world ending before. Are people going to lose their home to colonialism? Right. Okay, well, you know, that, you know, we've been there before. So when it's really serious and it kind of falls into that, you know, I feel like you can do it in certain ways where it'll still be really interesting, but that I think is where the world needs to breathe even more, right? Like Dune, I think is a cool example of that.
Because definitely.
Who they are and, you know, how they battle and all that stuff. But the overall, like, you know, premise is it feels like, okay, like I get the premise. I'm kind of understanding it pretty quickly. But then how they go about it and who they are and their history and their lore is where it really brings it into fold.
Right. My dog is bothering me right now. She's like, "Excuse me, you've been staying at your table for too long, and you need to get up and play with me or do something."
Yeah, don't worry, pup. We're almost
there.
Yeah, we're trying this new schedule out. So if you're new, great to see you. Thanks for coming through. If you've seen us before, if you've come through before, hey, good to have you back. We are on a new time, 7 to 9 on Wednesdays, and I think that's the time. I think that's
going to be the time. Yeah.
I think it's going to be the lock on. That way we don't have a big block that kind of leads from one to another. And not only that, we let Jared have their day, and then Ashley gets to have their day as well, which means that we can hang out with all y'all. That being said,
hopefully it should make it easier for everyone.
Yeah. That's also the same reason why I don't stream from home, because if I streamed from home, my dog would also be very. We have a joke going on here at work that I'd be streaming, and then halfway through streaming, all of a sudden my camera would just and the lights.
Yep.
This man's old.
Definitely.
Yeah. When he wants attention, he's very he's adamant about it.
Oh, they definitely are too. They'll come up and jump on me and be like, "Do stuff," but thankfully she has a sister back there that she can bother first. So I'll try to be like, "Wake up, let's do stuff," and then I'll be able to finish my stuff before they want to actually do anything.
Yeah. And, just in case you're watching this, dog, you're a good boy. Please don't give me a hard time. I saw the stream. I heard what you said.
Yeah, right. I saw it all.
Smell it on me. So I mean,
I believe it.
This is probably one of my favorite parts about being a part of the stream, and even just watching it, right? Like even before when I was just watching the stream, it's really cool seeing it go from literally nothing, right? I mean, literally a blank white canvas all the way through to this point, right? And I know for you, this is run of the mill. You do this professionally, but it is really cool.
Yeah. No, you're definitely right. I mean, I always really enjoy the process because, like, I think it's very weird because I'm also going to delete this now and do it a different way because I realized I want to do it a different way. But it's one of those things where, as an artist, I think this is good for probably people who are streaming into to hear is, as an artist, I almost never feel confident in the direction I'm going sometimes. Like I might look like it where I'm like, I totally know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And then there's some times where especially when I'm streaming, because I'm just like, oh, pressure's on. I gotta be, like making something, Mm-hmm. You really, I feel like I'm like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing. But then like, as you just let it breathe and as you continue to work on it and keep working on it, eventually you're like, oh, there it is. Like, finally, and you kind of see like the light at the end of the tunnel. I've talked about this before. I call it embracing the suck, where it's like this part of your model making or when you're drawing or whatever it is, where you're just like, man, this isn't looking so good. And all you have to do is just give it like a little bit more time to breathe. And then it kind of comes, and then it comes out and you're like, oh yeah, there it is. And then that's when you like get into that weird, zone of arting that's really fun. Because then you're just kind of cruising and you're figuring it out and you're happy with your results and you're inspired by it. You can keep working on it, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun when you get to that point. So you just got to keep at it. That's the hardest part.
Just got to embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. it's one of those things where like like right now I wasn't really liking the way this was, but then I did this piece and I liked this like big fat trim because it feels more stylized towards what we were doing. I was like, I want to add that to this piece too. So you can start finding some harmony in the piece. Just you just got to be very patient with yourself. I'm gonna make it thicker as well, so that way things start to kind of feel more cohesive.
Yeah, and then that I think is the cool thing. Again, just watching it all unfold is seeing a lot of not only the process but the I guess problem solving is the best way to put it.
It totally is. It totally is. Yeah.
And that is also really cool because everyone always goes through their own level of problem solving as well, regardless of if you're an artist or if you're an accountant. From A to A.
100%. It's always going to be about that problem solving side of things.
Mm-hmm. There is a nice little phrase, saying in basketball. I like basketball, so there's a saying that one of the qualities of a good basketball player is what they do when the play breaks down, because the play is going to break down. Right. And I think that goes really well with anybody and works with any career. Right. You want to be able to adapt in a lot of situations because what is it? Best laid plans of mice and men. Okay, so real quick,
right?
Rono. Is it Zorro? Rono? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What are your doggos' names?
My real doggos names is Fenris is the black one, which I don't know. She's the one that's passed out on the couch. You can see her. And the other one that's trying to bother me, who's awake and bored, is Freya. So they're both Norse mythology based names, and they're sisters. They're from the same litter. So yeah, Fenris and Freya. That's my dogs.
Fenris and Freya.
That's the poops.
Named after Norse mythology, not after God of War in any way. Right?
No, specifically Norse mythology. Although I did name I have a ball python whose name is Lerny, as in the Lurdaean Hydra. So that's Greek mythology.
What's your python's name?
Lerny.
Oh, Lerny.
Yeah, it's like Hades? It's like from Hades, but the Lerny comes from Lurdaean Hydra. That's what the Hydra is called in Greek mythology. Really? Yeah. So that's what my snake's name is. A bunch of mythological family over here.
Yes. And one day you will ascend. You'll be the goddess of naming things.
Yeah.
And sculpting. Rono, do you have any pets? If anybody actually has any pets in the chat, why don't you tell us their names?
Shout out those pets, man.
Yeah, shout out pet names. Then we can put this in the list of pet names, and maybe there would be something that come up for our sculpted doggo here. We're gonna put Archetype Paladin dog. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I struggled a little bit with naming my pup. The whole story of how I even got the dog was weird too, because we went to, as you do, my wife and I, we had a weekend off together, which is very rare. And so we were like, oh, let's just go to, our local pound and look at pups, look at dogs. Because, we'd had a dog and then, unfortunately she passed away. And it had been a really long time. And so we were like, well, we miss that energy. We want it back, so on and so forth. Well, let's just go and look around. And I told her, I was like, the only way we'll get a dog, I'll even consider it the only way that we'll get a dog is that it has to be under a year old, right? Because I want to train it. And, it's not that you can't train a dog that is under a year old. There's just, you don't really know, when you're rescuing a dog, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, you don't always know what their
history is.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be anything. And you know, you may or may not be equipped for that. And it's a big commitment, obviously, you know, if you're trying to be a dog owner. I feel like I'm telling people what they already know. So it has to be under a year old, and it has to have a Star Wars name. What are the chances that there's going to be a dog at the pound at the day that we go that has a name of a Star Wars character? And so we looked at all the dogs, and we went to this one area, and there was this dog, quiet and small and timid in his own little corner. And there he was. And on his paperwork, it said Luke Skywalker. And he was 4 months old at the time.
That's awesome. I love that story. That's great.
And I was like, oh my God.
That's so cute.
Yeah. And so we actually left, and I looked at other dogs too. And then I was like, okay, well, let's go back to him and let's ask if we could just like see him, you know?
Yeah.
And the second we saw him, we were like, we dug him right away. We like fell in love with him. And they were like, well, you know, he's Australian cattle dog, so he's not going to get any bigger than this. And he was, I think, 23 pounds or something like that at the time. And so we're like, perfect. He's the perfect size. He's the perfect dog. This is great. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then we did the wisdom panel that it is, you know, so you can find the DNA of the dog. And it comes back and it's like, whoops, 50% German Shepherd. And then that's what happened. Then he just gained 50 pounds within that time.
That's crazy. See, I thought my dogs, because they had like pretty big paws when they were puppies, and they were German Shepherd Husky, and I was like, some Huskies get pretty big. And I was like, man, I wonder if they're going to get, you know, really big or not. And everyone that they saw, they were like, yeah, they're going to get real big. And I'm actually shocked that they're not bigger, because right over here, she's only like 50 pounds, and then Fenris is 60. They're still like a pretty big dog, but I'm used to like, I'm used to big dogs. So it is interesting to see that.
I mean, Rono, so look, you know, how for everyone else tuning in, how this is your calling to, you know, you've been thinking about getting into ZBrush, you've been thinking about getting into visual effects, animation, and games. This is your time. Hit us up, info@gnomon.edu. For you, Rono, you're not sure if you want to get a pet. Rono just said no pets right now, but I've been thinking about getting a dog. Here it is. This is your calling card. Yeah. There are a lot of dogs that could use your help, I'm sure, in your local area.
Yeah, I used to. I mean, that's where. I mean, my story was my dogs were foster fails, so I started fostering first. And I think that's a great way to start seeing if you're ready for a dog, is foster first, because one, you're doing a lot of good to your community. You're helping out dogs that need homes to go to, and then you can figure out. You know, you can feel the commitment of having a dog in your home. And you can make the decision of like, maybe this dog will be the right dog for me, or maybe if it's not, you can wait until it finds a great home, and then you still do some good for that dog. So I ended up keeping mine, but fostering is a great way to figure out whether or not, you know, you're ready for a dog, because it's a 12-year commitment, you know, like it's a big commitment. It's an animal, it's alive, and it needs to trust you, and you need to take care of it and all that stuff. You know, a lot of people buy them as puppies for Christmas, and that's not how you do it. I think I extruded everything. Yep, I did. So, you know, I think fostering is a great way to see if you are ready. That being said, I love my dogs. They're great.
Yeah.
I just recently bought them an RC car, and they lose their minds. They love it.
Like, yeah.
I mean, no. So I got 2 shells. So one shell they like already kind of destroyed, but RC cars are pretty sturdy, so it's actually been pretty good. Yeah.
So we have a cat at my house as well. Used to be an outside cat, now is an inside cat. It's a long story, but we've been trying to get it all these toys. Doesn't want to play with any of these toys. Yeah. And then we got this fish that was like this motion sensor fish that when you get near it, it flops like this. It's like like that, you know. This fool would never play with it. And then my dog saw it one day and just eyes dilated, right? And was like, so,
Like, this is the
and
best
so
thing ever.
yeah, so I was like, all right, here, play with it. I'll watch you, right? And I think an hour later, at one point he was like, because he likes throwing his toys up in the air and catching them.
That's
He's
awesome.
a really weird dog.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
he plays
I
catch
love
with
it.
himself. And so he was doing that, and all of a sudden I hear the motor, and then I hear this because he like crunched down on the motor so hard, and I was like, okay, I'm taking it away now.
Yeah, time to say bye-bye to Fishy.
This wasn't even made for you. This was made for cats.
Yeah. Well, actually, what works really well is they're not super. I got one that's like made of the Kong, company material, so
nice.
it's really strong. But it's a cat toy, but the dogs love it. They love chasing that thing around. So you never know.
Wait, okay, hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
Is there a old type of like wind up RC car that we could have that this dude could employ and just have it roll out towards the enemy that the dogs then chase?
Then the dog would chase. That would be kind of fun. I don't know. I don't know what kind of technology that would be.
Up, that would be
some sort of like cool like wind up toy.
Wind up dog.
Maybe it's their training mechanism, so they train them on like a cat wind up toy, so that when they get out on the battlefield, they're like, oh, that's my target.
Yeah. Wind up toys. They get like really excited.
Yeah.
And they can be like classic dogs too, where they just want to be friends with cats, and the cats are like, no, I will murder you.
Yeah.
My dog wants nothing more than to be friends with my cat, and he like knows not to like go towards things unless I let him.
Yeah.
So like I'll put him down, like I'll make him like lay down or whatever, and the cat will like come up to him, but then the cat will just get pissed and like swat at him for no reason. The other day,
he's like, what I thought we were friends.
Yeah. The other day he was like just chilling, and the cat swatted at his head, but he's a herding dog, so his head is made to take hits from cattle, right?
Which is crazy to think about how strong that is.
Yeah, which is insane. And the cat went and then like immediately darted, which was really weird for the cat. And I was like, what the heck happened? And I looked for the cat and I found him. I was like, okay, well, he looks fine. And then I go back over to my dog, and in his head, almost like a unicorn, was the cat's claw. And the cat had tried to attack him so hard that its claw just snapped on this dude's freaking skull. And my dog was like, hey, what's up, Dad? How's it going? And I'm like, you literally have a freaking claw in your skull. He's like, I don't feel it. I'm totally ready to just party, dude. And I'm like, you're a psychopath.
Yeah.
So, my dog.
Well, you have a fun combination there playing with your dog. Cattle, German Shepherd, like that's a pretty intense dog.
Oh yeah, I mean,
a lot of fun though.
Yeah, the second month that we had him, he gave my wife a swollen lip, a busted lip, because she was petting him, and he jumped up, and she was like over him. And he just like headbutted her right in the face by accident.
Ooh, yeah. My dog's done that to me, and she has got a pretty hard head, and it hurts. You just want to jump up and say hi, but then you get a nice little punch to the face with her nose.
And again, see that could be why the dwarf has such a swollen nose too, right? It's years.
Yeah.
Right?
It's actually always swollen from getting booped by his dog. Like that's fun.
Yeah, it all kind of flows together.
You can see that's still like the moment you start adding some trim onto stuff and start adding some thickness to things.
It looks
Starts to kind of
awesome.
come together. Getting there. I feel like I didn't get as far as I wanted to, but that's always the case. I never feel like I get as far as I want to.
Hey, you know what?
So
Embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck. You're right. You're right. I need to take my own advice. You were right. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Well, I think, now's as good a time as any. We came in a little bit earlier than we normally do.
It's time to kind of wrap it. I don't even look at the time. I'm just like, I could probably accidentally sculpt for like another hour and not even know it until I start getting hungry. And I'm like, time to go.
Yeah, I think I'm one of the people that has to get forced to eat. My wife yells at me sometimes. She comes in, she's like, "You need to eat something." I'm like, "When's the last time I ate?" She's like, "Breakfast." I'm like, "Oh, it's 9 o'clock." Okay, I guess so.
Yep.
Work on it.
So excited. But now we got them colored, and I think because I have to do 2 characters, I'll probably block out more of the Corgi's saddle and stuff, probably off stream a little bit, just so we can make sure that we're on a good track and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's coming along. You can see how easily, if you just make one thing like the skirt and just kind of duplicate it, you'll start getting the detail in the places that you need it to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's coming together.
I think it's looking super rad, and I appreciate all of y'all tuning in. If you want to see what Ashley's up to on any given day, you can check out their Instagram right over here. Boom. Thank you, Mod. If you want to stay up to date with Gnomon, you can follow us at Gnomon_school on any social media that you prefer. It used to be Twitter, but I guess now it's X. I don't know. And, if you want to figure out how Gnomon can help you along your artistic journey, go ahead and send us an email, info@gnomon.edu. And if you want to participate in Archetype, guess what? We're going to be back on Wednesday next week at 7 o'clock.
Wednesdays. Don't forget. We're Wednesdays now. Having lots of fun.
In your calendar. Get ready, because
right.
I think, this is coming together. It's turning into
the
world.
Yeah, so next week we're gonna try to finalize all the details, and then the week after that we'll be posing the characters. So I'll probably try to execute the pose that we already did where they're running and he's on his little saddleback and all that stuff. So the fourth one, it always seems like posing wouldn't take that long, but because of ZBrush it does. So our last little stream will be Wednesday. So tune in to catch the last of the sculpting next week. So
glad. Thanks for joining us, y'all. We'll see you.
Bye, you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.